So lane shine. Lane shine is kind of an interesting thing. Basically, it's from bowling, right? You bowl with your bowling ball, and a bowling ball changes the surface. Everybody calls it lane shine. The truth of the matter is, it doesn't really come from the lane. It comes from everything else. But the lane, well, a little bit from the lane, but mostly not that. This is two examples of lane shine. You can see that the ball is fresh surface on the left, and the ball is lane shine on the right. And I'm sure if you look at your bowling bag right now, it probably looks like the ball's on the right, because most people do not keep the surface up on their bowling ball, and their bowling ball gets quote unquote lane shined. Now, here's what's causing that. Everybody assumes that it's the lane. Like I said, it's not though. If you look at the wheel to the right, you can see that that looks fairly shiny. That actually looks just about the shininess of your bowling ball. And then the carpet does it. The ball return system does it. All of the components that get your bowling ball back to you, that's what creates lane shine. And we did two different tests to kind of prove this. One test that we did, we actually took a bowling ball, we rolled it on the lane, and we stopped it before it got to the pin deck. And we just kept rolling it over and over and over and over and over and over again. Checked the surface. Surface wasn't changing very much. Said, okay, fair enough. So now let's take the same bowling ball, or different bowling ball, and we'll put it in the pin deck and just let it go through the ball return system over and over and over and over and over and over again. Not let it really hit the lane. What we found out was, guess what? The ball changed surface when we did that very, very rapidly. And that's because all the friction created by those parts and the carpet and all the things the ball has to run into create this lane shine phenomenon. And that ultimately is what's going to change your bowling ball. So basically, this is some data that we collected on that phenomena, and it basically can be about 6 boards of difference, and it can begin to start in about 5 frames. So it's a pretty big difference in performance, and it can happen fairly quickly. This is kind of an interesting graph. What this is games bowled over time. So this was 6 games bowled, and this was the surface change over that time. And what's interesting about that is, if you look, there's 3 different starting surfaces. We had a 3,500, a 4,200, and a 5,000 grit surface. And when we bowled, you can see those balls over time, game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, they all begin to approach that 4,800 grit number. And the shiny ball gets duller, and the dull ball gets shinier. And that's just kind of how the process works. You really can't fix that. You really can't change that per se. It doesn't matter if it's what company you're using. That's going to happen one way or another. It may be a little bit faster or a little bit longer, but it's definitely going to happen. So this is something that we are still looking at. We're still investigating it, and that's why you don't see the lower grits there. You don't see the 2,000, 1,000, or 500 yet, but we will have those plots as well, and we will get that updated on this chart. Is there a question we got, Chris?
Yes, yeah. We got a couple questions.
All right, let's get some questions. Go ahead.
Why is it that some like the ball better after the lane shine?
So I think some people like the ball better after lane shine because essentially once your ball lane shines, that's the performance you're going to get, which is no different than if you were to surface the bowling ball. Once it changes, it is what it is. In that case, you may have a ball that matches up to you a little bit better. In some cases, it doesn't work to your advantage. I will tell you it is very detrimental to you to keep all of your balls in a lane shine state, because if they're all about that 4,800 grit and the amount of performance is about 50 to 60%, then all your bowling balls are going to begin to very, very quickly become close to the reacting the exact same as each other, which is very, very obviously not what you would want to have happen, especially if you were going to a league or tournament type situation. Go ahead.
Then we got another one. Mo Pinnell was talking about skip sanding when changing the surface. Example was 500 grit and then 15 or 2,000 grit. Does this matter?
So skipping grits, we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to surface grit versus measure grit. So let me wait till we get to that, because there's an interesting phenomenon with that. We'll go into that for sure though. So here's some things that you can do about that, right? So the balls are going to get to 4,800. You can't really stop that. But what you can do is, one, you can keep the surface on your bowling balls wherever it's supposed to be. Every 3 to 6 games, that will help with you being able to keep the performance difference that you're going to need. One of the benefits of a TruCut, right, is that it leaves the sanding lines in the ball. A lot of bowling balls now, they don't have any sanding lines in them, and that's actually bad. The sanding lines actually will help to fight the lane shine. So if you're sanding your bowling ball, by all means, you should spend a little bit of time and get those lines in the bowling ball, because that will help reduce the amount of lane shine. Here's something else you can do. Get 2 bowling balls that are essentially the same. One, and what you do is you bowl with one of them, right? And that's going to lane shine itself up. But you have the other one, and that's going to allow you to have a ball that has that fresh surface. Now you say, well, man, I don't really want to buy 2 bowling balls. Okay, well, what I would tell you is, especially if you're bowling league, this is really, really powerful if you're bowling league. Think about it this way. When you're bowling league, the lane's going to change. If you have 2 balls and they both have the exact same surface with the same layout and same everything else, when that first ball begins to lane shine, you can switch back to the other ball and not have to move as much. It may actually reduce how much you have to move to be able to get through that transition that you may struggle with. We've done this several different times, and we've had a lot of success with that. And I believe this is one of those tricks that you'll be able to employ once you understand this phenomenon, and it will help you with your game to be a little bit more consistent, because your bowling ball is going to change, and this is kind of a way to combat that. So I also believe you should have 1 ball at 4800 grit at all times, and that's your benchmark ball. That's a ball that you know kind of what it's going to do, and it's going to stay that way, and you're really comfortable with that ball. With that being said, every other ball you own should not be at 4800, because that is the majority of your performance. And if you keep it at 4800, all your balls are essentially going to be very, very close to the same to each other. Whether you have the pin up or pin down, or whether you have an asymmetric or not asymmetric, the majority of your performance is coming from the surface. So if all your surfaces are the same, you're actually making your bowling balls very, very close, which you shouldn't do that. I mean, you just shouldn't do that.